Welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast, where we talk about fitness, health, and anything to help you become the most optimal human beings. Let's dive into it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. It's just me and Trampus today. What's up, Trampus? I'm used to saying Joe, but like...
Yeah. No Joe. Not a lot. Not a lot's up. Just ready to dive into some science.
Yeah, the scientists here. And just as my monthly reminder, we are not scientists. We're not PhDs. We are primarily athletes and coaches who look at this stuff to really try and dissect what does this mean for the garage gym athlete. And I'll give you the title of this study real quick and then kind of talk about why I wanted to cover it. And the study is called, it was done in 2022, Association Between Fat-Free Mass Loss After Diet and Exercise Interventions in Weight Regain in Women with Overweight. That's it. That's how it ends. Like I didn't, nothing was cut off there. That's how it goes. Anyway, the reason I wanted to cover this study is I've done a lot of reading and research. You've probably heard on the podcast things about fat loss. You know, I did a big presentation on fat loss versus fat burning, and it always opens up a can of worms of more fat loss discussion. And I do think that there's a lot of nuance to it. You can't watch my one presentation and be like, okay, I fully understand fat loss and here's how I'm going to lose body fat, because there's so many other factors. And I thought that this was a pretty good study. So I'm going to go over kind of the summary of the study and what they were looking at. I will be referencing their body weight in kilograms, or how much they lost on average in kilograms instead of pounds, just because I already have it like detailed out like that. But 1 kilogram is about 2.2 pounds. If you need to do some quick math, just multiply it by 2-ish and you'll be good. So the study aimed to determine if the percentage of fat-free mass loss after diet alone, diet plus aerobic exercise, or diet plus resistance exercise is a predictor of weight regain in overweight premenopausal women. 141 overweight premenopausal women participated in a weight loss program with 3 different interventions, which I already mentioned: diet alone, resistance exercise, and diet plus aerobic exercise. And they were followed for 1 year after, and body weight and composition were measured at baseline, after weight loss, and at 1 year. So the participants lost an average of 12.1 kilograms of body weight, which is quite a bit of body weight, 11.3 kilograms of fat mass, and 0.5 kilograms of fat-free mass during the weight loss intervention, but regained weight at 1 year, 6 kilograms. Percentage of fat-free mass loss was minus 3.6%, and greater fat-free mass loss was associated with more weight regain after adjusting for the intervention group. So their overall conclusion, before we dive into a whole lot of stuff they didn't talk about and things that we just need to discuss. So percentage of fat-free mass loss is a significant predictor of weight regain in overweight premenopausal women. And I'll just go ahead and move out the premenopausal women. I know that's what the study is about, but I've looked at a lot of other studies in preparation for this. And the more fat-free mass you lose, the worse off you are. And we're going to talk about that more. So these results support strategies for conserving fat-free mass during weight loss, such as resistance training. Future research should investigate the mechanisms responsible for this association in terms of appetite and energy expenditure. So over and over and over again, I have to say fat-free mass loss. It's FFML, and it's kind of annoying. Or just even saying fat-free mass instead of just saying muscle. Like I prefer to just say muscle, right? They lost muscle, or you're trying to preserve muscle. But fat-free mass refers to everything in the body that is not fat, so such as muscle, bones, and organs. And I think the main reason they're doing that is because if you do, not to get too technical, but like when you do a DEXA scan, that's kind of like what it's looking at. These scans are really good at saying, this is fat in your body, like really good at that. And they're really good at saying like, these are bones. But then when it gets to like organs and muscles, I think that the machine isn't as precise as like isolating fat. So they just call it fat-free mass, meaning it's muscle, it's bone, tissue, organs, things like that. And so that's just a product of how these machines typically measure. So anyway, let's jump into it. Trampus, what do you think about this study?
I think the premise of the study was good. Like they had the groups broke out, well, 3 variable groups that you could really like get some good data from. We didn't really see the data like we wanted to, though. I think to see like who actually did better when it came to losing fat. I think maybe they focused on the regain part a little bit more, but it would have been nice to see who lost more fat per group, and I don't think they really highlighted that anywhere that I saw. But I mean, overall, the highest loss of fat-free mass was from the diet only, which that's not real surprising. That if all you're doing is dieting and you're not training or trying to build up muscle or any of the other fat-free masses, then you're just going to lose everything. Your body's going to take whatever it needs for energy. So and then obviously on the inverse of that, the resistance training group were actually able to gain muscle or fat-free mass over time, but still lost a good bit of fat as well. So, like, I like the idea of the study. We really just don't know who did that much better. We just kind of know that they all lost fat, and the resistance training group gained muscle. Really, yeah. Go ahead.
I would say they did not give as much insight, but I was digging into it a little bit more. And it says this study was a retrospective analysis that combined data from 2 cohorts completing 2 studies with the same sequence of events and same methodology. So I think because to collectively pull all this data, you have to be looking at 3 studies, and we were really just trying to look at one, but take the takeaways from that, which is what we would have done anyway. If we looked at 2 different studies, we would have come together with one. And so I honestly think it's a huge miss on their part, because it's like we're supposed to assume some information. And this is pretty technical. There's still a lot of great stuff we can pull from this, but we're supposed to assume like that we've looked at these other studies and all these other things. But that to me, that's not how a scientific study should be. It should kind of be standalone. Like,
right,
here is what we got, because we look at these kind of systematic review and meta-analyses all the time, and they're pulling a study of studies, right? They're pulling these things. But that they didn't necessarily do that in this one. It was like a retrospective analysis where they kind of pulled together a conclusion, but they left us hanging on some more important information we would have liked to see.
Right. My 2 main takeaways from it, though, just overall, is obviously you need to be lifting if you want to lose fat, and really it seemed like they all gained weight there after the year follow up that they did. So
Right.
as soon as they lost structure in their lives, they just reverted back to their old ways or whatever, and began gaining back fat from not having the structure. So take that into account when you go on these weight loss programs, because they lost like it's 11.3 kilograms, so it's not like life changing. I guess it could be, but it's not like,
Depends on what percentage of your body weight that is.
yeah. I mean, but it's not like they lost 100 pounds or something like that, right? So it was a good steady loss of weight over a full year's time, and that's weight that you can keep off if you're able to implement a maintaining type structure in your life, and not just going back to McDonald's or whatever they reverted back to.
And I mean, this is one of the biggest problems, and I mean, I would say facing any garage gym athlete out there, anybody who's done a weight loss or training program, is what you'll do is you'll figure out that it works. You'll be consistent. You'll be motivated, excited for whatever period of time that might be, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 12 weeks, 6 months. Hell, it could even be 2 years. But then the second you revert back to how you were, it all goes away and you regain weight pretty quickly. And I think that this is puzzling everyone in the industry. Like, it's just a matter of what happens. And I think there's so much more, like, I'm stepping away from the science here. There's so much more at play with weight regain after significant weight loss from like a mental standpoint. I think from like we've talked about this in other episodes, like metabolic issues that may be developed from these aggressive diets or high intensity training, whatever it is. Again, stepping away from the science, these are just my theories that will probably play out over the next 5 to 10 years. And we'll have more scientific studies to kind of back up what I'm saying, I hope. But there's just so much to unpack. But the biggest thing from this study was, if we want to put it in really simple terms, the people who lost the most, and I'm going to stop calling it fat-free mass because it's kind of annoying. The people who lost the most muscle regained the most weight back.
Yeah.
So the more muscle you lose, the more muscle mass you lose during your weight loss journey, the higher chance of you regaining more weight back. And I was kind of looking into, I was like, that's a great takeaway. You're going to have to tell me why. And of course, the study doesn't do that. So I had to like jump in to why I think that it was. And I had to like do some other research, but I came down to a couple of different things. One was a reduced metabolic rate. So fat-free mass, particularly muscle mass, plays a significant role in determining your resting metabolic rate. RMR is the number of calories your body burns at rest to maintain its basic functions. When you lose fat-free mass, your RMR may decrease, leading to overall energy expenditure. As a result, it becomes easier to gain weight again if you consume more calories than your body needs. That's 1. 2, changes in hormonal levels. Weight loss, especially the loss of fat-free mass, may cause hormonal changes in the body. These changes can affect appetite regulation, making it harder to control hunger and leading to increased food intake. Consequently, this may contribute to weight gain. And then 3rd, decreased physical performance. Losing fat-free mass, particularly muscle mass, can negatively impact your physical performance, strength, and endurance. This could make it more challenging to maintain or increase the intensity of your workouts, which might lead to reduced energy expenditure and increased likelihood of weight gain. And this was all pulled from literature. And the reason I like that last one a lot is because people don't talk about that. But if you've ever taken a break from exercise, where you come back a little bit weaker, or you're not as fast, or you're not as fit. This happened to me recently. I've talked about it on the podcast, just coming back from injury, and things just weren't how they were before. It's like, it's a huge hit to your motivation to want to train when you're like, wow, this is so much slower than I used to run, or this amount of weight is so much less than I used to lift. And that's going to happen if you're losing fat-free mass. So that's a big thing that we need to take into account. And the biggest ways to maintain your fat-free mass, resistance training, which is ultimately their takeaway. They jumped straight to it. They were like, yeah, you want to try and maintain as much of your muscle mass, your fat-free mass as possible. You can do that with resistance training and adequate intake of protein. And those are the 2 biggest things I think you need to focus on if you're going to be shooting for any significant or any weight loss at all, to be honest.
Yeah, completely agree. The protein is like a key. I mean, even if you're resistance training, if you're not fueling and you're just breaking muscle down essentially. So you've got to keep that intake up.
Yeah, and I mean, what do you think? And I'll just kind of like throw it out there to you. I'm sure there are plenty of athletes who start, stop. Like, what do you think people should do? I have my answer, but what do you think people should do if they are like, they're on that start, stop roller coaster, but they just need to be on the start and keep going? Train, not the roller coaster. Like, what do you think people need to do to maintain something where this weight regain doesn't happen, or steps back in performance don't happen? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it probably depends on why they're starting and stopping, but uh, maybe their goals are a little bit too lofty. They just, they step into something that's just not manageable. So that, and they probably do this every time. They're thinking that this time's going to be different. And I've heard you talk about it before, like what, the way that it the way that it would work the best if you could stay consistent is if somebody comes into your house and takes all your food out. Somebody, tells you exactly what to buy and what to cook, how to eat it, when to eat it, how much to eat. if somebody comes by your house and trains you every day, and these people go in with these big lofty plans instead of just, you know, I'm gonna work out 3 times this week, especially if you're going from nothing. I'm gonna do something 3 times this week, really build that habit of that's just what I do now is I train. And then also building the habits when you go into the grocery store or when you're deciding what you're gonna eat. Not but not turning it into this just impossible hill, because I think people get just so burnt out with whatever they're doing, and maybe they saw progress, but still they're just it's not manageable and it's unattainable to sustain that.
Yeah, and I don't want to go off on a big rant here, but I just really don't think influencers are helping. You know, they most of them have amazing bodies, right? And it's an unrealistic expectation. I talk about that all the time because a lot of those people, I'm not saying that these people have taken steroids and they've cheated and they're bad people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they've put in the work for 25 years or whatever because they've just have and they look amazing. And so your expectation of getting started after not having exercised for 15 years is unrealistic. It's unrealistic to follow their program. It's unrealistic to think that you're going to look like them in a short amount of time. Um, and that's what, the industry has sold for a really long time. So I think my response to the same type of question is similar to yours. And it's just what I've been talking about a lot on the podcast over the last several months is that exercising grit or your ability to achieve, your ability to do things is a muscle just like anything else that has to be worked. And you can't go lift a 500-pound back squat if you haven't trained for years to be able to do that 500-pound back squat, right? And that's the same when we're talking about consistency and how many things that you want to take in, like emptying out your pantry and having a coach and doing meal prep and counting macros and drinking water and sleeping correctly, and then doing the training and making sure that you're doing all the right training. You just can't do it. And I really think that this should be a huge relief to anyone listening who wants to lose weight and keep it off, because what I'm saying is that you need to do micro, tiny ass changes for years on end. But the good news is they're small changes that you don't have to stress out about. You can just do one tiny thing at a time, and you have to do it for years on end. But no one likes that, right? No one
It's not sexy.
Yeah, no one wants to to buy the program that's have an amazing body in 15 years, or it's make $1 million. It'll take 25 years. No one really, people don't want to buy into that, but it's the reality of most every successful person in any capacity that just, they kept grinding away with the small daily habits for a really long period of time. And that might sound cliche, but that's how you're going to lose weight and keep it off, because the research is against you if you're trying to lose weight. 100% against you. It's everyone's obese and overweight. And when I say everyone, I just mean the majority. And then keeping it off seems impossible. And so it's super discouraging to be why am I even going to try this? Because I know in a year, research says I will have gained it back. And a lot of people gain back more.
Yeah.
So we're just in a tight spot, I think, in the industry. And we need to be focusing a lot more on the soft side of these things, which is, to me, just the mental side of it, which is not soft. It's you need to take a harder mentality, but I'm saying soft science as far as you just got to do the small things. You got to build the habits. You can't do all the crazy stuff you're watching on Instagram and expect it to work for you.
Yeah, and along with the crazy stuff you see on Instagram, they'll start these programs that just absolutely run them into the ground from day one, and it's not that you shouldn't have a day or two maybe like that, but a lot of the time you just need to be moving. You just need to be moving. And even if that's, for starters, if that's taking a walk every day to, build up the habit. The habit is probably the biggest thing you got to learn is just today at 3, I'm going to do something active. For ultra beginners. Um, and you've just got to make sure that that habit is a part of your life in any way possible. Because, like you've talked about before, these are predictors for how long you're going to live. It's not just how you feel today, and um, uh, you know, the the quality of your life right now. This is the quality of your life for forever, because the more you do now, the longer you will live. So
Yeah. I mean, I just had a conversation on Monday. So I'll just tell everybody what I was talking to a life insurance agent. Okay. So just getting some life insurance, pretty standard stuff for anyone who wants to take care of his family. But he had like researched me and like learned a little bit more about me before having our conversation. You know, they ask a bunch of questions, all this sort of stuff. And the first like 20 minutes of this conversation, we talked about him, which I did not mind at all. But like he was like, he's like, dude, I'm just gonna do it. He's like, I know you're super like into fitness and all this stuff. He's like, I want to know like what you think, because he's a pretty fit dude, but he was just like, I struggle, like I'll gain weight back. Then I'll have to work really hard to get it off. And he looked pretty fit. I mean, this is a Zoom call that we were doing. But then he was saying what he's running into in his, I think he was 42, 43, something like that. He was just running into injury after injury after injury. And he was like, he's trying to have this mindset of like, no, I'm just going to be consistent and put in the work and like all these things, all the things that you kind of know that you should do. But like once the ego gets involved, you know, you lift too heavy and you're hurt and then you're going to physical therapy. And that was basically the story. And he's just like, what do you do? And I was like, well, one, I'm just coming off of a pretty serious injury. So like, don't think I don't have like the ego issue and like things like trying to, you know, do all those things. But I gave him the same advice that I've kind of learned, is that we're good for about an hour a day of fitness. If you want to go above that, what are you training for and why are you doing it? Okay, that's a big thing. And if you're only going to be doing an hour a day, your expectation should be, even if you're doing 6 days a week, the expectation should be slow results. Because the people who are doing the 2 to 4 hours per day, like all these advanced athletes and influencers who you see, they do see results faster, but it will come at a cost. I have no doubt, because a lot of people you're watching on Instagram are 26 years old, right? And they don't even know yet. You know what I'm saying? And so like, just take it 1 hour at a day, expect slow results. And then the biggest thing that I've been doing for a while now, I talked about several podcasts ago. And I say a while, I mean like several months into last year even, is actually measuring my training time to recovery time. And ever since I've been doing that, it took a couple months, but I feel great now. And I think that is where the biggest miss is for anyone who's trying to pursue athleticism for a longer period of time, is that if you want an hour in of training today, for me right now, my formula is 50% recovery time. And it's like a non-negotiable. So it doesn't mean always that it's okay, if I put in an hour today, I have to do 30 minutes today. It's just almost like a debt that's occurring. You can't get too far back on it. Like, this isn't scientific. Okay. And so I don't want anybody to treat it too formulaic. But if I have trained 3 days in a row, or let's just say 2 days in a row, I did Monday, Tuesday, I was busy, I got 2 hours in, and now I'm to Wednesday, about to do my third training session, but I've done no recovery at all, nothing. And I'm like, okay, well, I can train hard again for a third day, but I'm pushing that envelope. I know that I am. Or I can not train today, not train, but then spend that 1 hour that I've accumulated in recovery time today, if I'm tight on time. If I'm not tight on time, I prefer to just do the 30 minutes every single day. But if I am tight on time, then cool. Monday, Tuesday, an hour, Wednesday, recovery day. In recovery, we've talked about all these things. There's so many different modalities. Sure, you could do a cold bath if you wanted, but the most effective one is light aerobic training. For me, I like to do a lot of ROMWOD type stuff, you know, mobility training, yoga, all those kind of things. And I think that these are the mindsets that are going to help you long term. And if you're looking to lose weight, gradual weight loss, you know, you're looking for very, very small amounts, like half pound a week, a pound a week, something like that, making sure that you're eating a balanced diet, because you can lose weight with eating chocolate bars or only bagels. Like, you can
if
go
it
on the
fits.
bagel only diet, and so long
If
as
it
it's
fits.
fewer calories than you need, you can still lose weight. But how do you think that plays long-term to your health, right? If you're not eating a balanced diet. So when I eat balanced diet, it sounds stupid or like you should know it, but ultimately you can lose weight so long as you have few enough calories. And then sleep and stress management are the last things that I'll say before I kind of wrap this side of it up. But like sleep, stress, those are really high on the totem pole here for what you need to do to like make sure that you keep weight off. And you have to maintain all these things. And I know it's difficult. But what else are you prioritizing? You know, like to me, this stuff is life or death. That's why it's always such a high priority. And I don't think other people view it that way. They might start to view it that way when they get in trouble, but you know, like you got your labs back and they weren't as good as you thought. Like that starts to put in perspective that you're like, oh crap, I'm headed in a bad direction here. But it takes seeing those things to realize it.
Yeah, I completely agree with all that.
Awesome. Well, I think we'll do some quick updates. That kind of wraps up this study. But you guys, Trampus, when was the last time you were on the podcast?
I don't know. It's been a while. I think a couple months probably.
Yeah. So let's get an update from you, man. Like, I'm sure people want to know where's. I think everyone thinks I'm just secretly firing everybody behind closed doors. Ashley had a baby. All right, she is on maternity leave. Joe's around. He's on a trip right now. Trampus is here part-time at least. But yeah,
part-time here.
What's the update?
So the biggest update, on some people may know it, I don't know, is that I no longer am in the construction industry, and I have transitioned to PT Biz with Jerred and Danny Matei and Eve Gigi. So over there helping Jerred with marketing and it's a little website optimization stuff, and I've got a lot to learn. You know, a decade of construction does not prepare you necessarily for that, but you know,
you got all the right skills. You just need to put them in the right areas.
The people ask me, and especially like people that know Jerred, ask me, so how do you feel about it? I was like, it doesn't seem like that. I just got to learn everything Jerred's learned in the last 10 years, like the next 3 months to keep my job.
That's it.
Doesn't seem like a big deal. But no, it's been good. Great change of pace. We're talking about like recovery and just training schedule. Like I've only been here 2.5 weeks or so, but I haven't had a more consistent schedule than this right here. So
it'll get to the point where you don't handle inconsistent schedules very well.
Right. I'll start getting ornery because of little things coming out of the blue. But no, it's been great. I'm able to walk my dog every day. Like I've never been able to just walk my dog every day. Like it's a different lifestyle. Super happy about it. Ready to keep going. What's going on with you?
That's a great update. Yeah. So if anyone didn't know, I have more than one business that I'm a part of, and I mentioned it here and there, but you never know, new listeners or whatever. If you want to know more about that kind of side of things, you can check out the Better Human Business podcast, which I recently relaunched. I haven't talked about it too much here. I did send out an email to most Garage Gym Athlete subscribers if you're interested in learning about the business side of what I do, because I feel like over the last, like you said, decade plus, I've been developing two skills at the same time. And one has been a lot of coaching and research and programming. But at the same time, when you're an entrepreneur, forcefully at the start, you have to learn all the other things to run the business, to make it grow. So like marketing, advertising, sales, all those kind of things. And I've been building up both of those skills equally. Some people are super reluctant to build up the entrepreneurial skills, but I was like, I want to go all in on this. I want to be good at it. So yeah, that's kind of the other side of what I do. PT Biz is more about business consulting. So I get to talk about both sides. Here I get to talk about fitness, health, my number one passion. And then over there, I get to talk about growing businesses and marketing and all those things that are definitely not my passion level of like health and fitness. Like my eyes light up when I'm talking about programming and scientific studies, but I like those things more than most people. A lot of people don't like those things. And so I've really enjoyed it.
And not to mention just like the people and not just the PT Biz people, but all the clients that we have over there, like they're our people. Like, it's they're health and fitness people that are also physical therapists for the most part. I mean, we just got back from San Antonio, did a live event, and I mean, how many conferences have you gone to where you've said, "Hey, we're all going to get up at 6 a.m. and do the EO3 5K," and I'd say 75% of the conference showed up to do the EO3 5K at 6 a.m. in the morning. I mean, those are our people. So like, just super fun group.
Yeah, it's an awesome group. And it's been a lot of fun to work on that business. But other than that, for me, I've just been business as usual, life as usual. I was doing a ton of traveling, like there was a San Antonio event, and then I went on a trip with my kids, and now I have another flying out to Atlanta next week. So to mention your like consistency and schedule, that's being taken away from me right now, and I hate it. Because travel workouts, I'm good with travel workouts if I travel like infrequently. If I have like this month is going to be like 3 out of the 4 weeks I will be gone for some period of time. And that's when travel workouts start to annoy me, because I'm like, well, this was really supposed to be like a plug for like me being out of town. It wasn't supposed to be like my new training schedule is a travel workouts.
Right.
But no, I'm good with whatever, as long as I'm getting some work in and swinging a kettlebell or doing some push-ups and got to run in, like I'm happy. But I'm really excited to be on the new Hard to Kill cycle, which as of recording this has not officially started. It's about to start. And so, yeah, I really want to be on the Hard to Kill track right now, because I'm very interested in the results of this next cycle. It's just a new but same style of programming. And I want to try and get every single day in. I want to miss as few days as possible. So that's what I'm trying to do over this next cycle.
Yeah, I've been handling track changes for Joe. He's on vacation this weekend. A lot of people switching over to Hard to Kill so far. So
I'm selling it well.
Selling it hard.
Well, I got it kind of mapped out. It looks like, so this next quarter, and that's the same way our cycles run. This next cycle, April, May, June, I should only miss, if things stick to how it is, like I should only miss like 4 days, training days. And so that's okay with me. I can probably shift enough days around.
Yeah.
But I don't plan on traveling. This is normally the quieter. Q2 is always like I get to like chill as far as travel goes. And then I don't know, my family vacations even kind of work out to that. But yeah, that's it, man. Just looking forward to the next cycle and continue to grind.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, we'll get out of here. If you, like I said, we're recording this before the cycle starts, but if you are listening to this and you want to know more about the Hard to Kill cycle, scroll back in the podcast to, it was the inflammation episode. I think Joe titled it something like that. Just a couple back. Sorry, I don't know the number off the top of my head, but around minute 20 and 15 seconds. I looked it up earlier today. That part I did look up. I just didn't look up the exact title. 20 minutes and 15 seconds. I start to talk about the Hard to Kill cycle and what's different in what I'm trying out in this cycle that's going on right now as you're listening to this. But if you're thinking about joining in or switching to Hard to Kill track, you absolutely still can. You will have missed minimal amounts. You'll have missed as much as me, because I have a trip next week. So you can go learn more about that. And if you are not one of our athletes, go to garagegymathlete.com, sign up for a 14-day free trial and get started. And to all of our athletes who are around and awesome, thanks for being a part of the community. And, some of you for as long as you have, we really appreciate it. But that's it for this one. Remember, if you don't kill comfort, comfort will kill you. Athlete Podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Thanks for listening.